Howdy folks, this is Rob with MTG Investor, and this is the end of day 2 for Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch, and I'm doing a little check-in video. And this has been one of the best weekends I've ever had. It might be the very best weekend I've ever had on making money. The top 8 has 6 Eldrazi decks and 2 Affinity decks. Without even knowing who's going to win, basically the money's already been made. Looking at the deck, basically you have decks that are running Blight Herder, which I was sitting on a ton of those. Drowner of Hopes, which I was sitting on like 48 playsets of those. And even though those are only like up to about, I don't know, $2.50, $3 a card, I got them all for a quarter. So those basically have gone up 10 times their value. Blight Herder's gone up quite a bit. Eldrazi Mimics, which I got for pretty cheap, those are just shot up to $6, $7, $8 or something like that. Matter Reshapers I didn't have a ton of, but I had about 5 play sets of that. And Reality Smashers, I had very few of those. Those are one of the few cards I didn't have. I only had like 2 or 3 extra play sets of that. Thought Not Seer, I also only had a few play sets of that. But those have shot up to $25 on SCG. eBay doesn't reflect that price right now. On eBay, you can get them for $55 a play set, and it's $100 on SCG. So oftentimes SCG will influence the eBay market. If SCG raises their price, a lot of times eBay will follow. It's not always the case, but a lot of times SCG will jack up the price just because they know that they can influence the market. And Wasteland Strangler, I've been sitting on a ton of those. I also bought Relic of Primogenitus, and essentially a few months ago when the Oath of the Gatewatch cards were being spoiled, this essentially the same or very close to the same deck was running around on forums and stuff. And when I saw that, I bought into a bunch of cards right then, right off the bat. That's when I picked up all the Drowner of Hopes, and I kind of thought maybe Drowner of Hope wasn't gonna shell out, but and that was probably my biggest winner this weekend, Drowner of Hope. Like I said, even if it's only $2.50, that's still 10 times what I paid for it. So for every dollar I spent in that, then that's turned to $10. So those are the basic creatures. There's some other creatures from some of the other decks. There was the red-blue Eldrazi deck. There was the mono-black Eldrazi deck. And then there was the colorless Eldrazi deck. Some of the other winners this weekend were from some of the other decks. And one card that I totally... It's not so much that I forgot to bring it up in my video from a day or a day and a half ago, was Endless One. I bought a ton of those pre-sale before Battle for Zendikar even came out. When I saw Endless One, I thought, man, this is amazing. You never have gotten an X creature that basically gave you +1/+1 for every X put into it. There was just an X, and I just thought, man, this is great. It can go in any color deck because it has an open casting cost. Potentially, if you go infinite on mana, this could be a crazy, ridiculous creature. I bought a ton of Endless Ones. I keep all this in a Excel document. I don't have it pulled up right now, and it's been a few months now since I bought them all. But I got them like dirt cheap. I want to say I got all my playsets for $1 to $1.50, somewhere in there. It wasn't even on my radar for this weekend. So when I saw that getting played, I was like, I was so ecstatic because it's just another card that I had bought into. For Zendikar and Oath, I had a plan going into those sets. I don't normally buy standard stuff, but what I was thinking is that there's going to be enough Eldrazi between this Zendikar block and the previous Zendikar block that you would be able to get I thought you could get a good solid EDH deck out of it, some sort of tribal deck just for fun. And I thought I'm gonna pick up Eldrazi. I'm just gonna pick up a bunch of Eldrazi, all the cheap ones, because eventually over time, those little quarter rares are gonna turn into $4 or $5 rares. And I thought Endless One had capability in pretty much any deck. I wasn't sure it would be played during the Khans of Tarkir, Dragons of Tarkir era, because all those decks were centered around 3 colors. But I thought maybe, at the time I didn't know it was going to be returning to Innistrad, but I thought maybe when Battle for Zendikar and the next block comes out, then Endless One might see its day, its time. So I also thought Endless One had some playability in Tron, maybe. I wasn't banking on that, but anyway, huge, so happy to see Endless One, because I'm sitting here with a ton of them right beside me right now. Another big winner today was Chalice of the Void. Chalice of the Void was so money for the Channel Fireball team with Simian Spirit Guide. First turn, getting that out for 1, basically shutting down all the aggro decks, the mono red decks, the zoo decks, the tempo decks. It's just crazy, like how Shadows of the Void on turn 1 or turn 2 just wrecked so many decks today. Some of the other creatures, see, Drowner Hope Mimic, Eldrazi Obligator. I didn't have that card, I'll be honest with you. Didn't see that coming at all. I mean, I have some from, I opened a case of Gatewatch for fun, but I didn't invest in those. I did not see that coming at all. Eldrazi Sky Spawner, that's a common. And Vile Aggregate, that's a uncommon. So let's see who else. Frank Lepori. Let's see, his deck was a little bit different. He had one World Breaker in his. Okay, and the other big winners, obviously Urborg, but Urborgs I got back when that deck started popping up, because you could still get Urborgs for like $4 or $5, and they shot up to $30. They didn't really move any more than they already were. Let's see, what else? Ugin probably moved a little bit. Eldrazi Temple, I bought a ton of those. Cavern of Souls, big winner today. Cavern of Souls is perfect for this deck. I mean, seriously, you're only playing Eldrazi, uncounterable, taps for any color, so you can play any color Eldrazi. I mean, Cavern of Souls was just made for this deck. It's pretty sick. A lot of the pain lands are going up in value because Shivan Reefs and Ratchet Bomb got played in the Channel Fireball deck, but I don't know that it's made any movement. It was a couple bucks on ACG when I looked earlier. Ghost Quarter probably saw a lot of movement today because people will be playing it against the Eldrazi decks, and the Eldrazi decks play it main. There's also Corrupted Crossroads, which really didn't see any movement today. It got played in a lot of the decks. That one might move up a little bit over the next few weeks. Now, as far as time to sell, personally, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until tomorrow night, Sunday night, after the top 8. I'm going to probably list cards then. Some of the cards I may want to hold for a little bit longer, but some of them I want to take my profits on now. Cards like Drowner of Hope, which, are up to $2.50 or $3 a pop, those I probably want to sell most of those, because I can't see that card like staying at a high value, because it's not going to get played in Standard. It's only going to get played in Modern. Even though it might be the wave of the future, I'll probably sell half of those, and then I'll kind of wait and see what's going to happen with those. The Mimics, I think the Mimics are playable in Standard, and so I think those could shoot up even higher, because I think they're good in Standard. I just think, turn 2 you get a Mimic, and then you throw out a Fatty, and I just think Mimic's a good card. I didn't see it get played so much in Modern, although I did hold it and have it for Modern just in case, because I did see that deck floating around, but I thought I had more Standard application. Some of these cards are already high. It's Thought Not Seer, $15 already. It's kind of sitting there at 15 still on eBay, although SCG is trying to get 25 out of it right now. We'll see. I see what's going to happen. I suspect is there's a couple lines or paths that could happen. One is this deck, everybody's going to be playing it, or everybody's going to be meta-ing against it. Now it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now that everybody knows this deck's there, how are people going to respond to this deck? How are people going to alter their current decks to be able to beat this deck? And can they alter their current decks to beat this deck? How is this going to warp the format? Now, it's been a long time since there's been an emergency banning, and I don't know when the last one was. The last one I can think of was back for Memory Jar back in the day, and when the format was 1.5. This is even way before Modern and before Extended. And I remember playing in Kansas City in a Grand Prix back in 1998, I think. It was the last Grand Prix that you could play Memory Jar, and it was being banned the following Monday, emergency ban. Card was only legal for about a month, just sick broken. I don't think there's going to be an emergency. There's going to be emergency banning now. Wizards is probably going to watch and see how the format shakes out in the next couple of weeks. But if the top 8s are all dominated by Eldrazi, then there's going to be a banning. And I would imagine Eye of Ugin is the one that's going to get the axe. So if you're sitting on Eye of Ugins, I think this is the time to cash them in, because if something does get banned, it's going to be Eye of Ugin. Eye of Ugin is what allows you to play Mimics for free. You could play 1 to 4 Mimics on turn 1. You can play a Mimic and an Endless one for 2 on turn 1. You could pitch a Spirit Guide and play a Vile Aggregate turn 1. There's just, the Eye is that makes the deck crazy. I don't think Eldrazi Temple needs to be banned, because that just speeds your turns up by 1. And even though that's I still think the deck's playable and viable with Eye of Ugin being gone. Ugin just makes the deck sick. So I wouldn't be surprised to see emergency banning. So if I'm not none extra Aya Ugins, but if I were, I would sell them right. I would sell them right now, because if something gets banned, it's going to be Ugin, which just makes the deck crazy. Turns into Mishra's Workshop if you drop a turn 2 Urborg. So anyway, the things that I would sell Thought Knot Seers right now, because if they're selling for $55.60 on eBay right now, and those are the ones that I think are going to come down in price, because all these cards are standard playable cards right now, and cards that in Modern, they don't really escalate in price until they're out of print. There's a few rare exceptions. I don't see Jace, the new Jace from Origins, dropping really too much in price, but there's very few exceptions, and these are all just creatures, rare creatures. There's not even mythics in here for the most part, except the Singleton Worldbreaker. So anyway, a lot of these I would just sell. I would sell the Thought Knot Seers. I'm going to sell my Thought Knot Seers right now. And let's see what else. Matter Reshaper. All these are going to come down because more and more Oath of Gatewatch is going to be open. The price is going to come down, and if you want to rebuy them in long term for Modern, you can get them back at a cheaper price in a month or two from now. So the ones that I think are worth selling right now are the ones that probably don't have that aren't standard playable, because those prices will come back down to. I think Blight Herder will come back down a little bit. Drowner of Hope come back down a little bit, and Wasteland Strangler come back down a little bit, and then you can rebuy them if you want to hold them long term. But now's the time to cash in for them. Eldrazi Temple, I don't think that will ever get banned, but those shot up a little bit this weekend. They had already shot up, so I'll probably look at selling. I'll have to think about the temples. I'm not sure I'm going to sell those. Cavern of Souls, I could actually see that card going higher. I wouldn't sell that. Urborgs, I think those are probably going to sit kind of where they're at. They're at 30, and they shot up, so they need some time to kind of chill at 30 before anything happens with those. I could see them coming back down a little bit. Relic of Progenitus, I'm sitting on those. I think that's a Relic of Progenitus is a $10 uncommon, in my opinion. In the future, they're sitting about 4 or 5 right now, so I think it's okay to just hold those. And I think I've covered most of the stuff right now. If it's going to be standard playable, I would sell. So again, Mimics, Reshapers, Reality Smashers, Thought Knot Seers. If it's not playable, Strangler, Drowner of Hope, Blight Herder, I would sell. I would sell. It wouldn't kill you if you want to hold it for a little bit. Anyway, I'm rambling on way too much. Had such a great weekend. If you've made it this far in this video, thank you. I'm just kind of turning more into a podcast than anything else. Just so excited. Wanted to make a little video, and I hope you guys made money, and I will catch you guys later. This has been Rob with MTG Investor. Peace out.